Welcome back to the Unleashed. I'm your host, Jared Beeler. I had a question in the comment the other day if I could do a video on the millennial reign or the 1,000-year reign. And I was thinking about it, and I just said, yeah, I could talk on it a little bit. I've been trying to get it out now for a few days, and every single time I did, I came to I just couldn't do it, and I don't know exactly why. Some videos that I'm about to do or I'm going to do are more difficult than other ones for some reason. I don't know why. It's just maybe in the mood that I'm in, or maybe it's a difficult subject or something like that. But anyways, I've been trying to talk about this for a few days now, and I just haven't done it, so I figured I'd sit down today and talk about a few things. There's plenty of verses in the Bible that shoot back to the 1,000-year, the millennial reign, or when Jesus Christ will be ruling on earth. And this time takes place after we get back from the 7 years in heaven. So after the rapture has happened and we're up in heaven and stuff. And just like Jesus said, he goes to prepare a place for us, and where he is, he'll gather us with him, right? And we do go up there, but there's no waste of energy or anything like that. And like I've stated before, wherever God is heaven. It's going to be incredible. It's going to be a completely different time on the earth. There won't be the evil that you see now. It's not going to be running amok. Jesus is going to be ruling, and it's going to be incredible. He's going to rule with the wrought iron, so he's going to have some rules and stuff that he lays down, and that's how it's going to go. But, I mean, I'm going to try and answer some of the questions you might have, like, is there going to be killing? Can you eat meat? And other things like that. And I cannot answer all of them. We're going to have to wait and find out. But we can speculate and talk on it. And I'm just going to kind of go over it. There's plenty of different verses. I'm going to read some different ones and point some interesting things out, and we'll see how it is. And, of course, this leads into when God recreates everything new again. And that's going to be something totally different that we can only speculate on, so we're not sure about that. But the 1,000 years is talked about quite a bit. So like I said, I'm going to read some verses and discuss some different things and stuff like that. So hopefully it'll help give an idea on what the millennial reign is if you don't quite know about it and stuff like that. Revelation, sorry. And I saw thrones, and they that sat upon them, and judgment was given unto them. And I saw the souls of them that were beheaded for the witness of Jesus and for the word of God, and which had not worshipped the beast, neither his image, neither had received his mark in their foreheads or their hands. And they lived and reigned with Christ 1,000 years. There's a mention of the 1,000 years right there. Revelation 5:10, all right? And it's made unto our God kings and priests, and we shall reign on earth. This is speaking about us, or the church, the called out ones, those who have made it, those who have given their life to Jesus. We come back with him, and we rule for 1,000 years with him, and we're made kings and priests, whatever that entails. Maybe it's hard to say. It could be some Lord of the Rings sort of kind of view where we're like more like elves or whatever, and then there's a population of men and stuff like that repopulate the earth, which is going to come from the Jews and any sort of survivors that have given their life to God that made it through the tribulation, which is slim to none and totally almost impossible. But that's where it does repopulate, and of course, leading up to the very end of it, when God has to come down and destroy a huge army that's come against Jesus and then what he's doing. And obviously something is taking place all the time. I'm guessing bad parenting that's not teaching them the way, but to turn from, they're not going to have Satan or anything like that at the time. So the turning and stuff that happens, it's going to be by the sin nature that's still going to be, it's going to be here until everything's thrown in the lake of fire and the time with it's done. Let me read Isaiah here. Chapter 2, verse 1. The word that Isaiah the son of Amos saw concerning Judah and Jerusalem, and it shall come to pass in the last days that the mountain of the Lord's house shall be established in the top of the mountains, and shall be exalted above the hills, and all nations shall flow unto it. And many people shall go and say, Come ye, and let us go up to the mountain of the Lord, to the house of God of Jacob, and he will teach us his ways, and we will walk in his paths. For out of Zion shall go forth the law, the word of the Lord from Jerusalem. And he shall judge among the nations, and shall rebuke many people, and they shall beat their swords into plowshares, and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war anymore. O house of Jacob, come ye, and let us walk in the light of the Lord. All right, so right there we get an idea that Jesus is ruling, but there's not going to be a time of war anymore. It's not going to be the preparing for it, the stuff that we see right now. They're gonna use their weapons for pruning hooks and other things like that. So it's gonna be a relative time of peace. And that's going to be really nice. Like I say, time to relax and really enjoy things the way that God intended for us. So that's going to be really cool. Let's see what else it says here. In Isaiah 30, we have, let's see here, 30 and... let's do verse 23. Then shall he give the rain and the seed, and thou shalt sow the ground withal, and the bread and increase of the earth, and shall be fat and plenteous. In that day shall thy cattle feed in large pastures. The oxen likewise and the young asses that ear the ground shall eat clean provender, which have been winnowed the shovel and with the fan. And there shall be upon every high mountain and upon every high hill rivers and streams of water in the day of the great slaughter, when the towers fall. Moreover, the light of the moon shall be as the light of the sun, and the light of the sun shall be sevenfold as the light of 7 days. In the days of the Lord bindeth the breach of his people, and healeth the stroke of their wounds. Okay, another specification speaking of what it's going to be like during the millennial reign. All right, rivers and streams coming out of the mountains. Very interesting. Before the flood, the ground was watered from dew, and there wasn't rain. There was a high barometric atmospheric pressure that was in the air with a higher oxygen level to allow people to live longer, animals to get bigger, and trees and plants to be gigantic. And it looks like that he is going to fix this up where there's going to be more streams and stuff. Underneath the crust was like a gigantic aquifer all over the world, and of course when this broke forth, all the water came out, the crust slid off. This is why you have your continental uplift, mountain ranges and things like that. This is why you see erosion happening faster than uplift, all right, from continents pushing together, from plates sliding slowly and things like that. It happened all at once. Erosion happens way faster than the uplift that we've seen, so it had to take place at a relatively fast speed. This took place during the flood, and that's exactly when it happened. But it looks like he's going to fix it up in a way that the springs and the water start to come out of the mountains again more like it used to be, and that'll be pretty cool. There's probably be some waterfalls and all that awesome stuff. Another thing is it speaks to the moon being brighter, like the sun. And if you guys have ever been out on full moon nights in the wintertime or anything like that, it's totally awesome. You can do all kinds of stuff. When I was a kid, I used to go up on this pass between Idaho and Montana, and there was these big jumps on the side of the road going up the pass where the trees were cut out, and you could hike up, and it was just all fresh powder. And on a school night, I'd go up there on a full moon with a friend, and we could jump off of it, and we'd snowboard for hours at night just for free into the powder and stuff, like doing huge jumps. You could do like double front flips and crazy stuff because it was all untouched. But the moon was so bright out in the wintertime, being full, that you could see everything. You didn't need any flashlights or anything like that. It was awesome. This kind of reminds me of that. It's gonna be kind of cool to see that. The sun's gonna be brighter too. If you guys don't know, since the mid 1800s, the sun shrinks. It loses about 5 miles in diameter each year. And they've been tracking it now for a long time, and they know that it does it as a burn-off rate that takes place. Of course, if you calculate this in to evolution and stuff like that, losing 5 miles a year at a steady rate, and more possibly at certain times. The story of it going back millions of years and things like that. We're 92 million miles from the sun, and Venus is 62 or 68, something like that, and it's totally fried. And you would have to calculate it, the size of it that would be if you went back too far, and you wouldn't be able to. It throws the whole timeline out the window, along with other things and stuff like that. So, but it looks like it's going to be restored to more of a full size, so it's going to be brighter, and the moon is and stuff like that. So it's going to be kind of cool. But just in a little topic there that's kind of interesting. Let's see here. Isaiah 65. Let's go with 17. For behold, I create a new heaven and a new earth, and the former shall not be remembered, nor come into mind. But be ye glad and rejoice forever that which I create. For behold, I create Jerusalem a joy, saying, or a people a joy, and I will rejoice in Jerusalem, and the joy of the people, and the voice of weeping shall be no more heard in her, nor the voice of crying. There shall be no more thence an infant of days, nor an old man that hath not filled his days. All right? For the child shall die 100 years old, but the sinner being 100 years old shall be accursed. And they shall build houses and inhabit them, and they shall plant vineyards and eat fruit of them. They shall not build and another inhabit, they shall not plant and another eat. For as the days of a tree are, the days of my people and my elect shall long enjoy the work of their hands. They shall not labor in vain, nor bring forth trouble, for they are a seed of the blessed of the Lord, and their offspring with them. And it shall come to pass that before they call, I will answer, and while they are yet speaking, I will hear. The wolf and the lamb shall feed together, and the lion shall eat straw like the bullock, and dust shall be the serpent's meat. They shall not hurt or destroy all my holy mountain, saith the Lord. All right? Very interesting. All right, there's a lot that's spoken of right here. All right, building houses and vineyards, planting them, enjoying it yourself. You're not working for the man anymore. There's not going to be like some crazy taxes. All right, striving to get by, building beautiful houses for other people, and you can't because you can't afford it or any of that stuff like that. We get to build for ourselves, and we get to enjoy it, and that's going to be an incredible time. It's almost like pioneering days, where you go up in the mountains and you build stuff and things like that. It's going to be an incredible exploration. We're going to know of freedom. The whole earth is that we've never known before, having Jesus at the helm. And, it just shows you what it's like when the righteous rule, and you can't get any more righteous than Jesus, compared to the corrupt. The corrupt is miserable and everybody suffers. When the righteous rule, even with rules and stuff that they're in place, there's prosperity and peace, and there's happiness, and it's going to be absolutely incredible. The age, like I say, this makes me think the oxygen levels and some of the stuff, not only with the water and the springs of the mountains, but it's going to be restored back to it. There's a timetable that takes place. I got to watch my time here. There's a timetable that takes place here at the end of Daniel in chapter 12. It speaks of blessed are they that make it to the 1335 days, right? If you're going by 1260 days or 1290, you're looking at anywhere from 75 to 45 days extra. It says blessed are they that make it to it. Of course, me doing the calculations and stuff like that, if we look around Passover, I believe it's 3 days after or something like that, around that time, we'll be looking at the two witnesses in the second half of the tribulation starting. Counting 1335 days going into 2027 from the timeline we're looking at with the rapture and all that other stuff like that. So the end of the tribulation. It's very interesting. In 2027, Hanukkah, which is a celebration of rededication of the temple, the cleansing of the temple, a Jewish holiday that happens obviously in December, stuff like that, just happens to fall on Christmas, December 25th in 2027. I've never seen that happen before, but it'll be taking place in 2027. That would be very interesting if this timeline that people have speculated before those 45 days, and we don't really know what's taking place, is Jesus fixing the earth back up to its pristine element, the way that it is, not only with the temple where he's going to rule from and stuff like that, and Hanukkah, the rededication of the temple, and Christmas, the time when we celebrate Jesus' birthday and things like that. It would be very interesting if this took place at that time, and that's what's kind of going to happen. But only time will tell. It's kind of an interesting little thing that I noticed the other day when I was looking and punching in numbers and stuff like that. The animals are going to be friendly. Looks like they feed together, they eat. Says the serpent eats the dust. The wolf and the lamb lay down, of course, and you guys have also heard the other version, the lion and the lamb that everybody knows. But it's going to be a time of peace with animals and things like that, and they're not going to be like ravagely attacking people and stuff like that. So very interesting and going to be incredible. The infant, 100 years old, dies, but the sinner, these are people I'm guessing that don't accept Jesus. Even in that incredible time, like I say, bad parenting, that turn from Jesus, they'll die being 100 years old, but a curse. Whereas those that accept Jesus and are walking with him, they're going to live for a long time. And it's very interesting that they would reject that. But, sin nature, the world, we don't really know exactly what's going to take place. But if you're looking for the Lord and you're going to be one of the ones that go with him, we're going to find out. We're going to get to live through all this. We're going to become immortals, okay? And that's going to be our calling. Okay, now what about sin? In Ezekiel, there's multiple places where it speaks of the offerings on the sacrifices being set back up again at the temple. What's that about? We don't entirely know. Is there going to be sin? It looks like there is, because people can reject Jesus, and we're still in a sin nature until it's tossed into the lake of fire. All right, and since these people are starting over and they're getting their chance to rule with Jesus, Israel is, and repopulate the earth and things like that. And of course, this isn't something we're going to be dealing with new with new bodies that are in the likeness of Jesus. We're not going to have to deal with sin. It's not going to be a calling or a pull on us. We're going to be able to live, think, do what we do right now. You're just not going to have that simple. Like right now at this moment, I'm not sinning. I'm loving God, and I can totally think what I'm doing. There's no problem. There's no pull to it or anything like that. When we're like that, it's going to be like that all the time. We'll never feel that. And it's going to be absolutely incredible. Those looking for the Lord know. You want to escape the sin life. It's terrible. We deal with it every day. We have to ask for forgiveness and repent. And it's going to be glorious to not have to deal with that anymore. And I long for the day. But they're going to be setting up sacrifice and things like that. So there will be this type of thing, and it could be for the atonement. It could be for ritualistic things as a memory, maybe of what they had to do before. Or it could be actually for their sins and stuff like that, and being reinstated again. Not really sure. We'll find out on that. But I'm going to read a little bit of it. Thus saith the Lord. Actually, no. Let's start with Ezekiel 45 verse 15, and the lamb out of the flock, out of 200, out of the fat pasture of Israel, for a meat offering, and for a burnt offering, and for a peace offering, to make reconciliation to them, saith the Lord God. All right, so it looks like it's to be covering for sin and other things like that. All the people of the land shall give this oblation for the prince in Israel, and it shall be the prince's part to give burnt offering and meat offering and drink offering and the feasts and the new moons and the Sabbaths and all solemnities of the house of Israel. He shall prepare the sin offering and the meat offering and the burnt offering and the peace offering to make reconciliation for the house of Israel. Thus saith the Lord God, in the first month and the first day of the month, thou shalt take a young bullock without blemish and cleanse the sanctuary. And the priest shall take of the blood and the sin offering and put it upon the post of the house, and upon the four corners of the settle and the altar, and upon the posts of the gate, the inner court. And so thou shalt do in the 7th day of the month for every one that erreth, and for him that is simple. So shall ye reconcile the house. In the first month and the 14th day of the month you shall have the Passover, a feast of 7 days, and leavened bread shall be eaten. And upon the day shall the prince prepare for himself and for all the people of the land a bullock for a sin offering. And 7 days of the feast ye shall prepare a burnt offering to the Lord, 7 bullocks and 7 rams without blemish daily in 7 days. And a kid of the goat daily for a sin offering. And ye shall prepare a meat offering of an empath for a bullock, and for an empath for a ram, and oil for an empath. In the 7th month, and the 15th day of the month shall he do the like in the feast of the 7th days, according to the sin offering, according to the burnt offering, according to the meat offering, according to the oil. Ezekiel speaks a lot of this post time after Armageddon, and during the time that we're speaking of here, the 1,000-year reign, and speaking of the temple and some of the stuff that's going to be taking place. So it's interesting that they're going to have this again. It's going to be reinstated, but it is something that's going to take place. Let's see here. Ezekiel 48, verse 1, we see, now these are the names of the tribes from the north end of the coast of the way of Hethlon that goeth to Hamath, Hazerman, and the border of Damascus northward to the coast of Hamath, for these are the sides east and west, a portion for Dan. Now we know that Dan's taken out during other parts of the Bible and stuff like that for its idolatry and other things like that, but during the 1,000-year reign, they get brought back and they get a portion of land, and that's pretty interesting. Let's see here. Zechariah 4:14, verse 4, and his feet shall stand, speaking of Jesus, in that day upon the Mount of Olives, which is before Jerusalem on the east, and the Mount of Olives shall cleave to the midst thereof toward the east and towards the west. And there shall be this is speaking of when Jesus first touches down on the Mount of Olives when we come back at the second coming. All right, so leading up to the 1,000 years. And cleave in the midst thereof toward the east and towards the west, and there shall be a very great valley. And half of the mountain shall remove toward the north, and half toward the south. And you shall flee to the valley of the mountains, for the valley of the mountains shall reach unto Azel. Yea, ye shall flee like as ye fled from before the earthquake in the days of Uzziah, king of Judah. And the Lord my God shall come, all the saints with thee. speaking of us when we're riding back with him. And it shall come to pass in that day, the light shall not be clear nor dark, but it shall come be one day which shall be known to the Lord, not day or night, but it shall come to pass that at evening time it shall be light. It shall be in that day that living waters shall go out from Jerusalem, half of them towards the former sea, and half of them towards the hinder sea. In summer and winter shall it be. All right, so it sounds like there's still going to be seasons. Before the flood, I don't think there was seasons. This is during the time when I think it was warm enough out and we didn't tilt enough, and Antarctica was able to have land and stuff on it before the season started. So it looks like we're going to have seasons during this time. Well, at least maybe we're going to have winter and summer and at least somewhat of a bit because it speaks of it here in the verse 8 of Zechariah 14. And the Lord shall be king over the earth, and that day shall there be one Lord, and his name one. All the land shall be turned as a plain from Gibeah to Ramoth, south of Jerusalem. It shall be lifted up and inhabited. In her place from Benjamin's gate unto the place of the first gate and the corner gate, and from the tower of Hananiel unto the king's winepress. And men shall dwell in it, and there shall be no more utter destruction, but Jerusalem shall be safely inhabited. Okay, that's from Zechariah. Let's see here. In Ezekiel 47:10, it says, "And it shall come to pass that the fishers shall stand upon the Engedi, even the Englaham, and they shall be a place to spread forth nets. Their fish shall be according to their kinds, as the fish of the great sea, exceedingly many. But the many places thereof and the marshes thereof shall not be healed. They shall give away to salt." All right? If anybody's wondering if you're going to be able to eat meat and stuff like that during the 1,000-year reign, or if it's going to be a time of vegetarianism because the animals and stuff are friendly, this tells me at least that we're going to be able to have fish. And of course, with the sacrificing and stuff at the temple, and us going up to have tabernacles once a year, which is going to be a commandment from the Lord, there's definitely going to be times when you're going to be able to eat some meat. And, I'm a big fan of that, so that's pretty awesome. But, people have speculated if there's going to be death and stuff like that, and clearly there is when Ezekiel speaks multiple times of sanctification and the blood and stuff like that has to be spread on the doorposts and the altar and things like that. I mean, not the doorposts. But in Ezekiel, it speaks of the nets and catching fish and stuff like that. So it's very interesting. Like I said, we don't know everything that's going to take place. We're going to find out. But one thing's for sure, you can always trust in God. He made everything that's right now, all the stuff that's incredible. You've seen that's beautiful, and this is only a part, and it's fallen. Wait until you see it built up the way that it's supposed to be. You won't be disappointed. It's going to be an incredible time. Another thing that we read earlier was it says during that time that before we can ask, or Jesus will answer. And that's very interesting because, a lot of the times you just want to hear from him. You want to hear from him. And we're going to be in a time where we will be able to talk to him, and that's going to be incredible. Before we call, he'll answer. And that's really neat to think about. I was working on my truck a couple weekends ago. I had to change the engine, head gaskets and stuff, and it was a pain in the neck. And I got into a couple tight spots. And, when I'm dealing with stuff like that, I pray because, it's like, oh, what am I going to do? You're running out of time. And I'll ask God and stuff like that. And I'll get an idea a lot of times just like that right in my mind. And I know I didn't get it myself. And it's like, oh, that's so smart. And it's coming from Him. It's just something that's kind of impressed on my mind. But to actually be able to hear him and talk to him and stuff like that, that's going to be incredible. And I don't know about technology. I don't think there's going to be cell phones and stuff like that. It's not going to be that kind of time. So, like I say, but very interesting. And it'll be absolutely incredible to have Jesus ruling. From Zechariah 14:16-21 here. Says, "Then the survivors from all the nations that have attacked Jerusalem will go up year after year to worship the King, the Lord Almighty, to celebrate the Festival of Tabernacles. If any of the peoples of the earth do not go up to Jerusalem to worship the King, the Lord Almighty will they will have no rain. All right, it's a type of punishment if you reject going up to have tabernacles once a year. So we're going to celebrate tabernacles and probably dwell in tents. The way I'm thinking of it, it's going to be like some sort of gigantic camping get together. I'm guessing the food and everything else is going to be amazing. I wouldn't want to miss it for anything. But there's people that are stubborn about it, and that's why the warning's there. They'll have no rain in their country where they're at. If the Egyptian people do not go up and take part, they will have no rain. The Lord will bring them a plague he inflicts on the nations that do not go up to celebrate the festival of tabernacles. This will be the punishment of Egypt and the punishment of the nations that do not go up to celebrate the festival of tabernacles. On that day, holy to the Lord will be inscribed on the bells and horses, and the cooking pots of the Lord's house will be like the sacred bowls in front of the altar. Every pot in Jerusalem and Judah will be holy to the Lord Almighty, and all who come to sacrifice will take some of the pots and cook in them. And on that day there will be no longer be a Canaanite in the house of the Lord Almighty. Very interesting. Will we have cars? All right. I'm guessing there's not going to be some oil field work. We're not going to be pulling out oil. And I've thought about it many times about the time that Jesus first showed up 2,000 years ago. Kind of a simple time, horses, chariots, and things like that, walking. And if it was chosen for that reason, it's hard to say. Before the flood, technology advanced. The stuff we have now, mechanics. I've heard of stories in heaven where there isn't moving parts on things. What will it be like and stuff? And only time will tell, but it's very interesting. Might not have it the same way. It reminds me of Final Fantasy. I believe it was 10 that I played a long time ago. And during this time, after a cataclysmic event or whatever, kind of like what we'd be looking at here, Armageddon, tribulation, everything like that, and starting a new time, machines are supposedly outlawed and things like that, and it's kind of a different world, old remnants of it. Will the people find old remnants of it? And maybe that's why they start to rebel, or they want old ways and things like that. That's part of the temptation to turn against God and the way that he has it set up. It's hard to say. There really is. We don't know. It's going to be something that we're going to find out, though. But Isaiah 66:20 here, and they will bring all your people from all the nations to my holy mountain in Jerusalem as an offering to the Lord, on horses and chariots and wagons, on mules and camels, says the Lord. We will bring them in Israel to bring their grain offerings to the temple of the Lord in ceremonial clean vessels, and I will select some of them also to be priests and Levites, say the Lord. And a new heaven and a new earth that I make will endure before them, declares the Lord. So will your name and descendants endure. From the new moon to another, from the Sabbath to another, all mankind will come and bow down before me, says the Lord. All right, but right there it speaks that they're going to be riding horses, have chariots and wagons, mules and camels, probably walking and stuff like that too. But there's other things that are going to be interesting. All right. If you guys have ever seen some of the stuff, the ancient animals, like this eagle skull that Trey Smith is pointing to in this picture, an ancient one compared to the new ones and stuff like that. All right, and then you look at some of the verses where it says that the animals are going to be friendly. Let me see, what verse is that in? Here we go, Isaiah 11:6. The wolf also shall dwell with the lamb, and the leopard shall lie down with the kid, and the calf and the young lion and the fatling together, and a little child shall lead them. And the cow and the bear shall feed, their young ones shall lie down together, and the lion shall eat straw like the ox. And the suckling child shall play in the hole of the asp, and the weaned child shall put his hand on the cockatrice's den, or adder's den. Speaking of a serpent, they shall not hurt nor be destroyed in the holy mountain, for the earth shall be full of the knowledge of the Lord as the waters cover the sea. All right, animals are going to be peaceful during this time as well. They're not going to have this animalistic rage that you have to worry about. You're going to be able to trust them and stuff like that. So, looking at some of these giant animals that were before the flood, and Jesus fixing it back up, like I said, possibly in that 75 or 45 days to something new. Oxygen levels higher, people are living longer. Are the animals going to get bigger again? And if they are, and they're friendly, here jumps into what would be a speculation point, but very interesting to ask and think about. Is it possible to ride on eagles? All right, we don't know. It totally could be a possibility. All right, we've heard or some of you haven't, but the L.A. Marzulli story. All right, just as I was showing the rapture, an incredible gift that was shown to me. He was showing the second coming for about 10 or 15 seconds. We're riding back on flying horses. Later told by the Holy Spirit, the horse is a gift after the war's over, when he was asked, what do you think happens to him? And then in kind of a smug, like, oh, great, that's really awesome. because he doesn't like horses. He's told that, well, you know that horse flies, right? We're going to be living in a time with flying horses, so not having cars and airplanes and stuff like that in a simple time when you actually know and can feel you're an immortal, there is no time problem. Everything we do is in a hurry. It has to be done by a certain time. You're not going to worry about time anymore. You're going to be able to enjoy it. Flying horses, animals friendly enough, and if they're bigger you can ride on them. Crazy world. It's going to be very exciting and totally awesome. We don't totally know what it all is going to entail, and there's going to be some surprise and things like that, but we know it's going to be glorious. With Jesus ruling from the throne, and it's going to be an incredible time, and we're looking forward to it big time. And this is just a little bit on. There's plenty of verses about the 1,000 years that pop up in different places in the Bible, speaking about the rule of Jesus. And like I said, I wanted to talk about this earlier, but sometimes I get into difficulties where it's hard for me to bring something up. And there's plenty of different verses, and I didn't know exactly how I wanted to discuss it, but just kind of went over everything a little bit randomly. But to get the point across and some different ideas on what the 1,000-year millennial reign is going to be like after we ride back with Jesus from heaven, and the 7-year break that we get up there in the rapture before he starts it for the 1,000 years, and finally finishing up at 7,000 years before God makes everything new again, and we're going to get to see everything when it's created new, and he merges heaven and earth, and it's going to be a spectacular thing. Will we still be able to go up to heaven? Well, we're going to have glorified bodies like Jesus, it says. And so we don't really know. We might be able to transition back and forth while mortals on the earth are staying here, living out their lives, repopulating the earth and stuff like that. We don't know, but it's going to be incredible, and we're going to know freedom like you didn't know was possible. Hopefully this helped give you an idea on what the millennial reign is if you don't really know or haven't considered it, and answered some questions. And like I say, some stuff we just don't know, but there's plenty of verses on it, and I've just read some of them, and hopefully it gave you a good idea on what is going to be taking place. But anyways, we'll catch you guys next time on Unleashing. God bless. Bye.